Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, this is the time on our agenda for member comment. This is for member comments on any item on the agenda or general comments about any association business. Please note this will be the only time for members to speak. So if you would like to speak on Zoom, I'm going to ask Amber to open everyone's microphone. And if you'd like to speak, say, "I wish to speak." We'll give that a moment. We have some, Amber?
I've unmuted everybody. So.
Everyone is unmuted. If you'd like to speak, please say so. Hearing none. Anyone in the audience who would like to speak, please make your way to the podium. State your name, lot and section number. And remember rules of decorum and a 3-minute time limit. Don't see any takers at this point, so we will move on. Officer reports. Cliff. Executive session items.
I got it.
Okay.
Just had to turn on the mic. I move the board direct the LOWA attorney to file lawsuit in Orange County Court after December the 1st, 2021 regarding continuing violations of the Declaration of Restrictions, Rules and Regulations on the lot in case number 21-1116-01.
Second.
Moved and seconded to direct the LOWA attorney to file lawsuits in Orange County after December 1st, 2021 regarding continuing violations of declaration restrictions, rules and regulations on the lot in case 21-116-01. Whoops.
No, you want to keep going.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Bill, how did I miss that on the agenda? I don't see it. Is it in there? Oh, boy. Okay, well, let's go to it then. Very good. All right. Going to go to item 2.5 on the agenda. This is Employee Excellence and Service Awards.
Yeah, it's not on the motion.
Yeah, we didn't have it on the motion sheet, but it was on the agenda. It's all right. We weren't going to let you forget. All these folks in the audience came here to talk about excellence in service. So why don't we'll try not to stand in front of it, and it looks like Travis can get us from here. So every quarter, Lake of the Woods identifies an individual and a team that has done an outstanding job for the quarter. And in this case, we have an individual award for the quarter. And this quarter is the third quarter of 2021, which is July through August. And we have a team award, which I always like to see when a team gets together and does something. And we also have one more award. We have a general manager's award we want to give to an employee. So it's a 3 for today. And I always like this because it gets to highlight all the good work that we do. Now, these quarterly awards, they're part of our employee manual, and they're just one way that we recognize employees. We recognize their terms of service with pins. We have spot awards. Of course, we have merit raises every year. There are lots of ways that we recognize. So this is one way we do it. And I'm really happy today to say that the winner of the quarterly individual award is Hunter Spencer. And if he would come forward, please. He's Pete, if you could read the award, because you're good at that.
Oh, okay. I have my glasses on too. This certificate is awarded, this is Excellence in Service Award, Individual Award. Certificate is awarded to Hunter Spencer, Capital Projects Manager, in recognition for the excellent service during the third quarter of 2021 for number 1, accomplishing significant cost savings and efficiencies And two, developing innovative solutions and methodologies. Hunter's expertise and experience has been a significant asset to LOWA capital projects, including combining asphalt projects scheduled for 2 years into 1 year for significant savings, enhancing fairways cooler freezer projects to achieve greater utilization capability, and redesigning the pool shade structure project to expand the project from 2 to 7 structures at no added cost. Presented at the LOWA Board of Directors meeting November 16, 2021. Hunter, thank you so much.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you to Karen, Karen Mollard, our HR manager. We have a letter for you here, a gift certificate for $50 and a day off, and with pay. And a couple of words about Hunter. He's a great find. He's been with us since September 2020. And he had this capital projects experience from working with Culpeper Public Schools. He was there for 11 years. He's an architect by training, got lots of planning and design experience. And we just sort of took these capital projects and said, here, take them. And he was able to knock them out one after another, and it just continues to do it. The clubhouse roof project was a significant one, the paving of Lakeview Parkway, and we mentioned the cooler freezer at Wood Center, and really the innovative approach when it came to those shade structures at the pools. I mean, we got so much value out of it and saved so much that we would have had to spend, and that's a good thing. So we got all these things resolved, but wait, there's more projects coming your way. Your reward for doing such a great job is more projects. There's always more to do here. So I just on behalf of the staff, we just appreciate everything you did and appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Don't sweat the mule, just load the wagon.
All right. Okay, so the next award is a team award. And the award for this quarter goes to the grounds department. So if the grounds department could come up, we got several. I'm going to call out their names. We've got Gary Chancellor, Aaron Harris, James Leninger, Carlos Masterakis, Travis Miles, and James Moore. And they were and we have grounds foreman right here, Grant Christie. He nominated the group, so he's standing there with them. And so this is a terrific team. It's called Coming to the Rescue. This is the group that came to when someone was needed. This is the group that answered. So at the equestrian center, we had a situation where we lost some staff and we needed to do something immediately. We turned to the grounds division and said, "Can you do it?" And these are the men that said yes. And if Bridget Hutchins was here, she'd tell them, "These are my boys. They take care of stuff for me." And she really enjoys working with you guys. So you're really helping out the cause, because those horses, what they do, they just keep doing it. And we got to take care of them. We got to take care of them, feed them and clean up and all that. It's 24/7. So we're glad you're there, that you kept it going. So, again, I just want to recognize the folks in the team here. Let's see, James, he came on in 2013, and Gary's not with us. Gary, he came on in 2016, Travis in 2017. And then with newcomers, Aaron, Carlos, and James. And so they're the newer guys on the team, but they work together, and you all are doing a great job. I mean, you look around the community, you just do an excellent job with the grounds. I try to let you guys know when I see it, and we really appreciate it, how you work together. And as I said, you guys are coming to the aid of another department. That just helps everybody out. So congratulations. We've got your certificates. We got the same letter, $50 certificate and a day off. And so now, if you could read the award.
Okay. First of all, let me just say how impressed I am with the job you all do here. Every time I go around, when it's most evident after the 4th of July, you'd never know there was a parade. You'd never know there were fireworks or anything, because you guys are just on things, and the beautiful flowers you do, I'm always impressed. with what you do here. So thank you very much. Bill, now this is, so each one?
Yeah, each one get.
Okay.
Text is the same.
So let me read the text for one and call the names and we'll hand them out in that order. So this certificate is awarded to, this one is to Gary Chancellor, groundskeeper, in recognition for the excellent service during the third quarter of 2021 for one, improved quality of service delivered to members, and two, demonstration of strengthened teamwork and cooperation among fellow employees. The grounds team stepped up to assist the equestrian team by performing a large portion of the stables cleanup work after over several weeks. At the equestrian center, the team put in the same effort and exhibited the same pride and dedication that they show for their regular assignments. The team performed the work willingly and efficiently while maintaining the normal work schedule. So thank you all very much. Gary? Oh, it's for Gary's, right? Okay. And text is the same. So next, James. James. I've worked, James Moore. James Moore. Oh, sorry, wrong James. Sorry about that. Well, I didn't know we had two James. I worked with James here at the clubhouse before in decorating time, hauling stuff up and down the street, up and down the stairs. Travis Miles. Thank you, Travis. And we also have something for you. You got that? Good. Phil's got that. Wonderful. Carlos. Carlos, thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
James Leninger. There's the other James. Here we go. Thank you, James. Thank you so much.
Another week as well, Pete.
Oh,
To carry those things up the stairs again.
that's right. That's right. Aaron Harris. Aaron, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
All righty. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Grant, thank you.
Good job, Grant. Thank you. All right. But wait, there's one more. And this is an additional award, and it's the General Manager's Award. And if I could ask Divers Callens to come forward, please. And she's here with Carletta Johnson, her supervisor. Divers works at Fairways. So it's nice to have you here, and we've got a certificate. And would you mind reading that? You're doing such a great job. You just keep going.
Shake her hand anyway.
Okay.
The General Manager's Award. This is one Phil's award to Divers Callens, serve at Fairways, in recognition of Divers' heroic life-saving performance of the Heimlich maneuver on a community member who was choking on her food on October 29th, 2021. The General Manager's Award is an expression of thanks and gratitude to Divers for her quick thinking and calm demeanor as she performed a life-saving act. Well, Diver, thank you. That's from Phil.
Divers, we have a gift certificate for you as well. And, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being the person that was there and that acted and didn't hesitate. And it was on October 29th. And we're just so glad you're there. And, nothing can prepare you for this, right? When we hired you, you didn't know you were going to do this, but you were there. And when you were called on, you did the right thing. So we really appreciate it. And the lady that you helped is that wrote into the viewpoints. And so it's going to be you can read the story for yourselves in Lake Currents coming out this Friday. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You're a hero. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, we are now at item 4.1B, committee changes. Terry?
I move the board approve the committee changes as presented.
Moved and seconded to approve the committee changes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We are now at item 4.2 on the schedule, General Manager's Report. Phil, take it to you.
Sir. Thank you very much. Let me get to my page. Reports includes the financials for this month, and kudos to the finance department. And I'll ask Charlie Madiville if he'll start working his way forward on this. So first, when it comes to the coronavirus and how it affects LOWA amenities, our staff vaccination stands where it was at 68%. Has not really moved any. Right now, we're in a period where we're not hiring anyone really to speak of. So it's not going to move right now. We are all working to understand what's going on the federal level with the requirements for employers with employees of 100 or more. We know that we fit that category. And instead of going into the detail now about where that stands, I would just tell you we're preparing to implement this sometime in January as much as we can. And that involves trying to get testing kits, which we're having a hard time getting. But we're going to stay diligent on that and try to find the testing kits that we can get. So there's really nothing new to as far as operations go, other than just doing the planning and the internal work. I anticipate that at your December meeting would be the time that we'd ask you to modify your policy that you have in place, assuming this doesn't get kicked down the road several weeks more. We could actually, at this point, probably do it at the January meeting, and it would still be okay. So we'll keep you up to date. We'll report on this every month, and that's where we stand with that. Are there any questions about coronavirus before I get to financials? Okay, today's the 16th of the month, and you have the financials in front of you. When Jennifer was president, she said, "You shall bring the financials to the mid-month meeting," and that was a stretch goal, which the finance department has been doing. And so, please give them credit. You've got the full financials sitting in front of you here for October, and that means everything closes out for all the departments in time to do this. So in October, we collected another $379,288 of the assessment, and that put us at a little more than 88%. That's about where we were last year. It's a little bit better than where we were last year. As far as the unaudited income statement goes, for comparison, we're showing a favorable balance to budget of $332,260, which is a terrific point to be at right now. A lot of what counts for that will be the clubhouse and fairways and golf operations, as well as fitness. They've really helped contribute to that. What we believe will be at the end of the year, an unexpended amount that we can apply to the next year. And Charlie will talk a little bit about that here in a minute. For the most part, everybody's doing well. I would tell you roads, grounds, and maintenance and general maintenance, I wouldn't count on those funds. We'll try to spend, when you have maintenance money, you spend it on maintenance. There's always more maintenance to be had. So I wouldn't count on that to be at the end of the year. We're working with security. There's some changes in the way we do business, how we handle commercial vehicles. It's now a lot violation versus a $50 summons. So that's contributed to the fall off on summonses. But working with the chief on that to try to keep his budget as right as we can. And there's also some concern with equestrian. We're working with Bridget to try to make sure that budget gets as close as it can to its budget. So overall, everyone's doing really well. As far as assessment goes, the delinquency rate stands at 5.8%. That's as of October 31st. And of course, we have November 1st is when quarterly payments are due. So that should continue to come down. We don't have any concern that that's a double negative. We are going to get below 2% or right at or 2% by the end of the year. So we're on course for that. We've got our letters going out, reminders. We've got the monthly statements going out to remind everyone to stay on. Come to us and talk to us about any issues you have and get squared up and get your account in good order. A couple of other items, holiday traffic control management. Last Tuesday, we tried an alternative approach to incoming traffic at the main gate. I don't know if you experienced it, but if you missed it, come back tomorrow because we'll be doing it at the main gate again tomorrow. Be practicing a little different setup. And we're getting lots of good input on how the operation's going. And of course, this is all leading to Thursday, November 25th, Thanksgiving Day, when we'll implement what we think is the best solution to handle the incoming traffic. And Thanksgiving Day is one of our busiest days. We always recommend members use tech control to check in their guests, send the QR code to their guests so they can just show the QR code to get through. So essentially what we're doing is we have lanes of traffic going down both sides of the building, and we have tech control readers on each side to check in guests and check members in that choose to go down the guest lane. And so we've got an officer in the intersection directing traffic. We've got an officer at the top helping members, helping put cars in each lane. And so, as I said, we'll learn more tomorrow, and then we'll go live on Thursday, the 25th. And this is all towards trying to keep the main gate where we can check in everybody properly and know exactly where they're headed, et cetera. And we don't have any law enforcement openings where we have to let a slug of traffic come in. And even though, and I want you to know, even when we do that, we're still getting them to announce into the camera their address and then handing them a white pass. So, and we keep track of that. The last item is the speed indicator sign, and it's been deployed on Lakeview Parkway, just really below where we are here. We're here at the clubhouse today, and it has not been, the lights aren't on yet, but it is reading traffic and is measuring. It's a good measuring device. Chief, I just happened to call him just as he got it turned on. It's a cloud-based system, and he's saying, yes, I'm getting readings. I'm getting readings. So we are going to see what traffic along there is like for a couple of weeks, and then we'll turn it on, and it'll indicate the speed and let you know if you're speeding. So the first deployment is here on Lakeview Parkway below the Veterans Dam. And the idea would be to keep it in one location for approximately 60 days and then move it to a new location. If this goes well, we want to think about buying at least 2 to 3 more of these and deploying them in different places to help remind people of their speeds. So that is my report. I've given the whole report, and if you don't have any questions of me, we'll turn to Charlie for the forecast and the outlook. But first, let me see if you have anything for me.
Any questions of Phil on this? I would just ask, when Chief and them looked at this, it says which vehicles would work. I guess they were trying to keep the larger trucks and vehicles on the right side and move them in.
That's right.
And they characterize it as working well, this test?
It makes cars, you have to slow down quite a bit to make that S.
Yeah.
And for the most part, those are going to be sedans.
Okay.
You think about Thanksgiving Day, we don't expect too many deliveries or big trucks. Maybe FedEx, who knows?
Amazon.
Could be, yes. We'll try to keep those on the straight path.
Okay.
We also have the option if somebody's displaying a valid dash tag, is to send them over into the member lane and send them down that way. So I just say be patient with us. We're trying to learn about some alternative approaches and do it in a safe way. We've got additional barriers that we deploy during that time.
All right.
All right, thank you. And so at this point, we turn to Charlie and ask him to go over the outlook and the forecast for the year.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Thank
Mr. President, members of the board, and members of the community, I'm continuing what we started last year. To provide this year, it'll be quarterly updates on our financial status and my forecast of where I think we're going to end the year. We did this monthly last year, and we transitioned to a quarterly basis, and this will be my second report for this year. The information that I'm going to discuss summarizes basically our current financial position and my outlook for the remainder of the year. The forecast that I'm using in this and the information I provided you is going to be part of the budget that comes out this Friday. We'll be submitting the general manager's draft budget this Friday. and getting it out to all the board members for review. So overall, LOWA's overall financial performance for the first 6 months now of the fiscal year shows continued improvements at all the amenities. Overall, our financial condition remains solid. It's been a good first 6 months, much better than last year. As a result, we anticipate that we're on pace to finish the year with a positive net income variance to budget, as well as positive net income of approximately $449,000. LOWA continues to experience better than expected fees from NCR, new construction.
Good afternoon, folks. It appears that the internet glitched out at the community center and they're working to bring everything back online. Thank you for your patience.
Activities Committee Charter. And then, so within the mission, there's essentially two missions, one for what the committee has always done for pools. And then the second is to incorporate the community activities. So it talks about that they would be a channel of communications for community members' ideas and suggestions for new and ongoing activities, and that they would promote the use of Lake of the Woods amenities by the community by offering well-planned and run activities that showcase the value of the amenities here at Lake of the Woods. So that's mainly what this is. And then within the responsibilities, there are a few new ones listed on what was the Pools Committee. And that's simply the items that have been brought over that were part of the community and youth activities, where they talk about recreational committees, recreational programs, and community activities. That's essentially it. And
Well,
actually a shout out to the Pools Committee for saying okay to doing this. I'm the liaison now, so they're a really energetic group with lots of good ideas.
Thank you, Terry. And yeah, let me also thank the Pools Committee for taking this project on and point out the amount of work that actually goes into combining two charters such as this. And board members, in our packets, we have the strikeouts, if you will, of what was community and youth and what is now incorporated into pools. It was a lot of work that went into this effort. Any questions, board members, about this? Okay. So are we ready to vote to approve this one?
No.
Schedule this for action at your next.
Schedule
meeting,
next,
would be the next.
sorry, scheduled for next. meeting.
We never know if there needs to be any other changes, so we just
Right.
typically just
Thank you.
make sure
Thank
that you want to schedule it the next meeting. We'll put it on your December 15 agenda for
Thank you,
action.
Phil. Very good. Okay. All right, let's move to committee reports. Item 4.4 on the agenda. Fitness Committee Chair John Uresco. You would step to the microphone. Did I pronounce your name correctly,
You
John?
did indeed.
All right, well, I got it
You
right.
get a gold star.
All right, thank you.
So fitness center, one word, success. Why do I say that? In August of 2020, we had 390 members in the fitness center. In November, we have 799. That's a double in terms of our membership. Well, what does that mean? Two M words, muscle and money. Muscle and money. Total revenue, almost $53,000 from the fitness center, over expenses of $42,000. That's a profit of $11,000 for the center. I think that's a shout out to all of us, to Phil and Tracy for working us through the COVID crisis and constantly updating and maintaining the equipment there, as well as the cleanliness of the center. It has attracted a lot of members. Now, how do we build on this success? How do we build on it? Well, first of all, we've devoted some flow monies to some equipment in the aerobics room. We are getting a new calf raise machine in the next 2 weeks. We've built a group fitness program that has expanded: yoga, Forever Fit, Silver Sneakers, core, cardio, boxing. We've made one NA&I request, and that's for a leg press machine, which, I mean, to be honest, committee members and members in the fitness center are saying, well, if we've generated, $11,000 worth of profit, shouldn't at least a small percentage of that profit go back directly to the center and build on our success? So that's why that item was submitted. I just want to conclude by pointing out why. Why do we ask for this machine? One of the reasons is the increase in membership. There's been a qualitative change. You don't have a lot of geezers like me. We're getting a lot more young people who are working and in their prime who want to lift a lot of heavy weights. And the current leg press machine does not accommodate that demand. We do have the weights for that machinery requested. So, you know, they're saying that would fulfill their fitness needs. So, one word, we got a successful fitness center program, and I think we should all be proud of that. Questions?
Board members, any questions?
Well,
I've silenced, oh, sorry, Walt.
Just a comment that we're at $7.99 right now. And, you know, I think it's clear that because it's the second half of the year, other people will come up. It's going to be 20% of our households are going to be members of the fitness center, which is really pretty remarkable. And my guess is that as time goes on, as people are self-select to live here based on the fitness center, we're going to find out that the percentage of households that are members is going to increase over time.
Yeah,
So I think we're really going to have to stay on top of making sure that we're providing the equipment and the services that the membership expects us to have
yeah.
to build on the success.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we may be approaching a point where we need to have a strategy, you know, underlying how we're going to move into the future with the center. It's just a great facility, and I think it's perfect for the Lake community, and it's proved that. So,
Yes, Rick.
Rick, sir.
Thank you. Could you say a little bit more about the leg press machine request? Are you saying it doesn't have the capacity to provide the weight challenge that members are asking for? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
it has an upper limit of about 250 pounds.
I
And-
think closer to 350.
Is it 350? I don't use it currently.
Terry lives at that level. so.
Yes, no, but I think it goes to 390.
Yeah. Not to blow everyone away, but we're talking about some guys who lift 700 pounds on leg press machines. We originally had that machine, but when we moved, there were some logistics issues, whether or not we could fit it in the new center. I mean, we would have to look at footprints. Some of the members did that already and felt, we could stagger the space in there and accommodate the new machine. So that's why, and I should point out, it is in terms of people leaving notes, it's the one thing that gets requested the most in terms of suggestion box submissions.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for John?
Hey, thank
John,
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next committee report, we'll hear from Maintenance and Ecology, Chair Jack Simons.
Board members and staff and membership, I thank you for the opportunity to present this report. And also specifically thanks to the board for your efforts to lead this community. I think that the board has done a great deal to change the general tone of meetings and to provide positive ways for bettering the community. And we owe you a debt of thanks. The current membership of M&E is listed on the outline. We gained a member. We moved one member to an alternate status. We picked up an additional alternate member and extended the term of 2 members. We have 1 vacancy, and we hope the committee fair will provide some qualified candidates for that spot and maybe advisors or alternates. By way of action items since our last report, you're aware of the recent M&E mission statement and charter revisions, which were approved in coordination with the revised Lakes Committee Charter. We thank your help to assist the focus of our committee activities. M&E has coordinated 4 specific NAI capital proposals for the association. We've got a ditch repair and replacement proposal, which advocates return to an annual target of 2 miles per year. With the 80 miles of roadside ditches we have, that would still take us 40 years to make it once around. So we hope you will bump that back from 4,000 to 11,000. We proposed a number of Veterans Dam walking trail options, and we coordinated that with Lakes staff and AMT. We'll see how that goes through the process. A 15th Fairway Stream Stabilization Program, proposing redefinition from the current daylighting proposal that is part of the record. We feel that daylighting in the first valley isn't necessary, but we have some problems to address for stabilization in the second valley. There is a proposal for the second roads crew for leaf removal and roads repair. That would ramp up over time, and it's being tested. Phil's trying to hire a couple of temps. You'll see in the analysis of that program that there are many tasks and few people. So that is something that can be addressed, hopefully. With these proposals have been included in the 5-year capital plan. Planning has provided their comments subject to receipt of the AMT report, and board approval obviously is required before they're included in capital and operating budgets. And so with M&E, we've got construction, repairs and replacements, care and maintenance of a huge balance sheet. An awful lot of R&R items come up every year. It's a good plan, but the primary challenge for the department is to spread manpower over many tasks, and there's never enough time and money. We feel that the staff is keeping on a reasonable pace based on the resources available, and they should be allocated more resources as the budget might permit. We've coordinated with other committees such as Lakes, Woods Center Ad Hoc, and the Lakes and Stormwater Management Working Group, and we look forward to the AMT recommendations and appreciate the Board of Directors implementing a specific goal on this item. We also look forward to the Woods Center Ad Hoc report and feel this will be a really good basis, along with the 10-year AMT recommendations for those 2-year-long efforts will provide a good basis for community consensus. Phil, you and your staff have dealt with a number of challenges over this last year, been remarkable. I feel that your restructuring of the M&E team has been a fine success. Bobby Jones has grown into the top spot, and he has justified your trust. Nick Blankenship has provided strong work for the environment, and Hunter Spencer has provided valuable expertise and experience. That award was well-deserving. The community center staff has worked us through COVID meetings without a miss. And so all in all, it comes down to leadership and a culture to provide professional service to our members and appropriate stewardship of the LOWA assets. I hope you pass along our thanks to your staff. So often staff may feel bruised and beaten by many passionate voices in the community. But I'd like to point out some specific items where staff initiatives and working together has produced a positive result. The new dredge, finding the right piece of equipment that lengthens our reach and can provide faster turnaround will be a good thing. And while its immediate focus is on the flat run 4-bay, that 4-bay has filled faster than the design would have anticipated. So it's working. So that's a real good success story. Another one, the asphalting of community center, Woods Center, and miscellaneous parking spots, a great opportunity that was captured. Staff has put together increased information on the LOWA website. one specific tab to inform members of current lake conditions. Also to educate on water and plant-based invasive species and the best practices for removal. There was great progress on the deferred capital improvement projects. We're in budget recovery from COVID, and that'll continue. There also is a draft M&E department safety plan in development. And after further review and submission to staff and submission to Phil and probably LOWA's attorney, this can be a stronger item in risk management. And we applaud the testing of the third gate coming in. That, from what we saw, that was a really clever idea. We have a number of things under discussion, but I'll defer to your questions.
Board members, any question for Jack at this point? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Jack, thank you so much. We appreciate all the work you put into your job as the chair of that committee. Item 5.1. Walt,
I move the board adopt the amendments to the Rules Committee Charter.
been moved and seconded to adopt the amendments to the Rules Committee Charter. Discussion. Anyone? Moved and seconded, no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. So here none, so motion passes unanimously. I am having a hard time following my own stuff here today. Okay, 5.2. Phil, would you lead us in a discussion of the 2022-26 five-year capital plan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, we are introducing the five-year capital plan with the thought that you would adopt it at your next meeting on December 15th. Normally, we would have done this at the first November meeting and then had action at this meeting. But we wanted to not have you just hear about it and act on it at the same meeting. So I think we'll be fine with it being adopted in December. So each year we take a look at the five-year plan and try to update it. The new capital items get a lot of attention, but I want to remind everyone, this is also supposed to be a departmental outlook of where the department is heading. We've tried to give you a flavor of that in the different divisions of the book. Want to thank Karen Mollard. She's helped me quite a bit on this draft that's before you. So on table number 1, that's always of interest because it talks about the new projects. And so what we're recommending this year is that the only projects that we take on for the year would be the Patrick Henry Court to Small Marina drainage improvement project, because we need to put together the $1.2 million needed to get that project underway for construction. We still need to finish the design and get it bid out. We did get some good news today. We spoke to, by the way, we spoke to the planning director, and it seems like they are going to sign off on the plats that we need to get recorded for the private easements, and so that will take away one of the barriers that we have toward getting that project with the easements and the permits it needs. But we're saying that ought to be a primary item in the 2022 budget, as should engineering design for the main gate and third gate, which is one of the board priorities. So those are the two items: Patrick Henry, main gate, third gate in table 1. Table 2 is the list of projects that got submitted, and we have comments about where they ought to be in the plan. And so these are essentially ones that did not get spread across the 5 years. Table 3 is for planning purposes to estimate what we think the assessment would be, taking into consideration the operating costs, the capital costs, et cetera. So that's for planning purposes. Table 4, you got your presentation last week from the Planning Committee Chair Jim Zavril. And that's the section where they've rated all the new capital projects in the plan. And then you get to the table with all the replacement reserve projects. And thank you to board members that caught the error we had. The fence at hole 16 on the Route 3 corridor in the 2022 plan. We're going to move it to the 2023 plan. So the effect of that will be that your capital spending for 2022 will go down, but your contribution to reserves won't, because the peak year is out in the future, and to get over that peak year is still many years out. So even though it's a big project, it's only moving 1 year. It's not going to change your CTR, but it will change how much you spend, and it'll be one less project that we start during 2022. So then behind that, you essentially get into the look at the you get the schedule, and then behind that you get to section 2, which has all the various departments, starting with the clubhouse, et cetera. And I won't go through those, but that entails the 5-year capital plan. And so of course its purpose is to help us with planning and budgeting, not only for this year, but going forward. I did want to point out some differences I had with the planning committee. There really isn't much to speak of in terms of differences. We're pretty well in sync. We agree that with their item on what they call third gate in 2 phases. And as I said, we think we ought to take on the engineering expenses this year and then go forward from there, dividing it into main gate solutions and then third gate solutions. So main gate solution in the near term, third gate solution as we go along. 15th Fairway, we agree that it's be in the plan. Ditch repair and replacement, it ought to be in the plan. However, we think we ought to go ahead and finish Patrick Henry first. Fairways Cafe exterior dining patio. I'll tell you, if I had that money in my hand right now, I'd go do it right now, because I think it would really help our restaurant quite a bit. So that's an excellent project, and we agree that ought to be included. The Route 3 security fencing, of course, we agree, and it's in the R&R plan in 2023. And then the Clubhouse Beach access ramp, I get, and this was an idea submitted by a member that said, I'm having difficulty getting to the beach with my young children. There's no parking up on the top level. What can be done? How about a ramp system? I do believe that there are some other solutions that would be more economically, I think we can come to a solution without building a ramp system. And we'd like to look at that a little bit closer. So that's the one where we disagree. We think that there might be a way to do a drop-off area. Maybe we could look at some sort of a shuttle system or something on busy days. There might be something in there. Just a quick look at it. There might be another drop-off area we can have. But when Hunter Spencer looked at this, it was an extensive ramping system that would not meet ADA. It would just be ramps, and it would take up the remaining green space we have. So I would just say, before we pull the trigger on that one, we'd want to look at some alternatives. So if you turn to the next page, the stormwater crew, of course, that's in goal 3. And remember that crew is going to be built into the operating budget. Upgrade of the lower level clubhouse. We ought to defer to at least 2023, but the original plan was to do the doors, the floors, and then the walls. So we do need to get to that. We would say that the staff would say the ceiling is okay. It needs to be a drop ceiling for what it does. And then the traffic speed signs, we did purchase one and deploy it, and we probably ought to look at others. This will give us a chance to look at it. So really today, if you could comment on anything you'd like to see changed, we can incorporate that into the version that you adopt. I always think, I remember the first year I was here when we were talking about capital items, new capital items. Do you do it now, or do you wait till the end? And I would just tell you, if you have some input now and you take a vote, we can change it now, but you will get to see this again. You will get to see capital in the budget at the end, but of course, as much as we can, we try to do capital in the fall. So if you have any thoughts now, we can make it, or we can discuss it.
Questions of directors? Any thus far? Yes, Rick first there. Sorry. And Terry.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Pete. I realize this is the smallest number on the page, but on table 1, you commented on the traffic speed sign system, which is in 2023 for $6,000. Is that for one additional sign or for 2?
Well, that's for 2, but it's meant to be for 2. The actual cost might be a little higher by the time we get there, but that's the number that was submitted. When all is said and done, it was a little bit more than 3 for 1 unit.
So let me just ask this. Well, first of all, let me ask this. On the next page, on table 2, there's 7,300 for radar speed poles in 2024. Is that the same thing?
It is the same thing.
Okay.
So that's a little more, it may have been submitted
that's-
separately.
So that's redundant. Is that,
Okay.
Yeah, we can resolve that.
okay. But,
We would say it was a good item to put into the plan, but just not this coming year
okay.
because of our other needs of the budget.
So if this sign proves to be, to use John's term, wildly successful in another area, which is our highway, our road safety, it seems to me worthwhile to perhaps move one of those signs up to next year versus waiting until 2024 to buy 2 more. And if we do split it, then would it drop out of new asset and improvement by virtue of the fact that by virtue of the price? It'd be slightly over $3,000 in each year. Is that-
Well, I mean, I would say the 3,500 is a good estimate. So Karen's on the line. I don't know if Karen Mollard wants to comment on this and the 2 projects, but to basically answer your question, I would bank on counting $3,500 a piece.
Okay.
You're wondering should we split it out and have one in each year? It would still, to me, it would still qualify as, and we ought to treat it as new capital unless we want to try to take it out of operations.
I mean, I'm just commenting, I think between now and the time we make a final decision on this, we'll have some pretty good feedback on the
Mhm.
efficiency of the
Yeah, we
first
will.
one. And if it proves to be as successful as we hope it will be, then I would think, let's go ahead and buy the second one next year and see what the results of that are. The results of that may be, we don't need a 3rd sign, but if we do, we'll do that in the year
Yeah.
following.
So my estimate is we need 4 to really cover the community as well as we
With
can.
backdate.
But, and get the data coming in from all those places to know where the hotspots are. But you're right, we can get 1 more, it can do twice the work. So,
Not to be a naysayer, but is the intention that eventually these things could actually issue tickets? Because just telling people they're speeding, we know they ignore that.
you want my opinion on that? I hope we never do that.
So then why have 4 of these around when everything I
awareness.
hear is people see it, slow down for a minute and then speed right back up. So
Well, education and enforcement, education and enforcement. So the sign is there for 60 days and then it's not there. There's an officer there to issue a speeding summons.
Okay.
And so that you have the 2-step process.
if
One-
that's the intent of having the signs, then I think that's what we need to make clear to our membership. There are going to be these signs here. Yeah, ignore them at your own peril, because when they're not there, there will be cops there.
Right.
Maybe
And
ticket
where it's
you.
deployed now, that curve, it's probably good that everybody's aware of their speed as they're coming around the curve.
Oh, I know, that's-
So
that's-
it's built to be detached from the pole and moved somewhere else. And the speed limit sign to be put it in its place. So, it is supposed to be the first step of 2 steps, with enforcement being the second. And ideally, you don't need it, but
To be clear, Phil, it does have the capability with an upgrade of software to issue tickets, should we choose that route.
yes, but
Yeah, I understand.
there's a huge expense for
The monthly and
administration
Exactly.
for that.
Yeah.
And you're basically buying compliance.
Right.
You're not going to get rich off of this. You're going to pay it to that
Correct.
third party to run your system.
Correct.
And I think we ought to have a community conversation about that before we get that far along.
Let's get the first
But
part
today,
done, that we educate.
We're
and
interested in
slow down.
awareness and speed awareness, and these are useful for doing this. They also, I think, if you read my column from last meeting, if you try to set the high score, it's going to turn off. It's not going to let you. It'll let you see how fast you can go against it.
Jennifer,
In my opinion, it does act as a deterrent. I know it was when they had the 45-mile-an-hour sign outside of Lake of the Woods. I immediately slowed down because I'm going 55 or without even thinking about it. And then I see that sign, I'm like, oh yeah. And I did see people getting tickets. So I don't know. I think it does work as a deterrent.
any other directors'
Yeah, I
questions?
do.
Sorry, back to you, Terry.
Yeah, sorry. I actually have a couple.
Did we get to, I don't know if we completed where Rick was going. I think he had the idea that maybe we split it, but we can come back to that.
Well, I mean, if we want to resolve each item at a time, then I'm
That's
happy to do that.
You good?
Well, do you want that in the form of a motion that we're going to vote on whether to split that or not, or how do you?
Like to make?
Yeah, now would be the time to do it.
Okay.
Sorry, Terry, I just wanted
No,
to
no,
take
absolutely.
care of this one before we go on.
All right, then
Unless yours involves it.
Mm,
I'll move that we move $3,000 for the traffic speed sign system from 2023 to 2022. Just to split that into 2 years, 2 consecutive years.
Second,
Clarification, Rick, did you mean 3,000 or 3,500 as Phil said
Well,
was the cost?
well, except
It's
it's
under
it's
3
in
now.
here.
Okay.
It's- yeah.
Very, very good. Okay. Moved and seconded to move $3,000 for the speed camera system from 2023 to 2022.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, discussion. Did we have a second?
I seconded.
Yeah,
it.
Sorry, second, yes. Discussion.
Yeah,
Well,
before we do this, we already have $430,000 in the NCR as new asset improvement, budget, for planning purposes. We just heard from Charlie that at the end of the year, we're probably going to have about 335,000 in new construction and revenue funds available. So we're increasing the delta we're going to have to make up somehow. So it's a great idea. But I think that anything we do, we need to remember that we have to pay for it. And we're already starting out where we're not going to be able to pay for it with out of the kitty of the NCR funds that we'll have collected in the current fiscal year. And so it's just a cautionary thing here that, there are a lot of things we'd like to do that are great ideas. And I personally am in favor of, except for we got to pay for it. And I think that we're going to be staring at a inflation that's going to be daunting next year also. So it's just a cautionary note that we got to be careful about adding to this number, because every dollar we add to it is probably going to have to come at the price of raising the assessment.
Jennifer?
Of all the amounts that we spend here in Lake of the Woods, $3,000 is not a terrible lot of money. So I think that we go ahead and get the 2 cameras in consecutive years.
Any other discussion? Cliff?
Just presuming for the sake of argument that we would have to increase the assessment, it's like 70 cents on the assessment. I think it's a good idea to get the cameras in when we can and at least start getting data before we even deal with the issue of red light cameras and things like that. But that's my view of it.
Rick?
Just a final word, and I certainly understand Walt's point. again, we'll have a final swipe at this and we'll have some harder numbers by then. We'll also have, again, the data from this first iteration of this traffic calming device. The 30,000 on the main gate plan, 400,000 on Patrick Henry, those are all estimates right now. They could be higher, they could be lower. And so by the time we get a final look at this, we may have the sharp knives and the $3,000 goes away. But to me, it's worth at least considering it as a real benefit.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
It's motion passes. One no, so 1, 2, 3, there's 5-1. Okay, again, this is for budgeting, planning purposes. All righty,
I
where
have
are we now?
questions. I have questions.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now more for questions for Phil,
Right.
Terry.
So, I'm sorry. You mentioned Fairways Cafe and the exterior dining patio. And I agree with you, although that's not a cheap date. I think that's one of the things that could be the most beneficial in terms of an amenity that continues to improve, that gets closer and closer to break even and even profitable. And I think that if we put in that exterior dining patio, that would just make it even easier for Fairways to achieve profitability more quickly. So I know that the committee, the Wood Center Ad Hoc Committee, could not propose it for prior to 2024. But I think that we as a board can propose it for prior to 2024. And I know that that would increase the NA&I, but I think that we also identified an error in the Miller-Dodson report of a somewhat, of a significantly greater amount that would be moving from 2022 to 2023. So might that help to balance it out? And anyway, that's one thing I'd like us to consider is moving the Fairways Cafe exterior dining patio from 2024 to 2022.
The change in the Miller-Dodson, just to answer that question, won't change the CTR because it'll just reduce your
it's a-
capital spending, the amount of money you write on checks, but you'll still need to keep the CTR where it is. So it doesn't really help you on that side. I would tell you too, that we're projecting that we'll likely budget Fairways with a positive variance in the next budget.
Any more?
I guess I'm waiting to see if
Oh,
anyone
Rick,
wants
you
to
had a
comment.
question?
Well, I was just going to comment that if we're looking at the bottom lines there, it would certainly, to me, make sense to at least move it from 2024 to 2023 if we're trying to level the humps.
Mr. President, I believe the reason why it's in 2024 is it had to do with the ad hoc committee's charter and that they were not to propose anything until we were significantly finished with the CARC project.
Right. And that date on CARC project is right now stands, Walt, at
December
February
2024.
24.
No, it's November of 24.
Right.
November of 24. November of 2024. That's right, with the additional payments made. It's moved that up. Terry, you had other questions?
Yeah,
or
well, no, so,
discussion?
yeah, well, actually, I'd like to move that I can try and get the conversation going, although it seems to kind of died. I move that we consider moving the Fairways Cafe exterior dining patio from 2024 to 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded to move the Fairways patio project from 2024 to 2022. Discussion. Cliff?
What's the financial impact of doing that?
$28,785 divided by 4,200. What is that, Walt? My
No,
math?
it doesn't even do that because you're
Yeah.
moving it.
Yeah.
Because of the way the calculations are done, shuffling an amount of money one year, one way or the other makes no real difference in the contribution to reserve.
Only in the spend.
It's just,
Have to
not-
get
it's
it
not a
past
big
the
enough
peak
number.
year.
You're not moving it enough. I think ultimately the question is going to be, what's the return on investment? And I'll caution again, I'm not interested in hearing what the revenue is. I'm interested in what the net is. And the thing is, my general approach is beaten into me when I was an engineer was if you can pay it off in like 3.5 to 4 years, it's a no brainer. If it's longer than that, you got to take a hard look at it. So moving it for planning purposes doesn't affect this year at all. And we get to have another look at it next year.
The application does talk about expected income from the outdoor.
Right. But once again, I'm up, it's the net, and everybody
Sure.
talks about we're going to increase our revenue, and then you got to be careful you don't fall into, we're going to lose a little on every sale and make it up and buy them, So we have time to look at this. And I don't think it's a problem moving it forward 1 year because we're not going to do it in the next budget year anyway.
Well, Terry's proposing.
Terry's
to do
proposal
it
to move it to 2022.
into the next budget to come out this Friday.
Moving into this budget.
Yes, I
Yes.
did.
Opposed to next.
When
I
we
had
say,
suggested
He had
23.
suggested.
Okay.
Terry's motion was 22.
22.
Okay, well, if you put it in, if you move it into the next year without a discussion of whether it makes economic sense. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of things that, I personally would like to have and I would be willing to pay for them. Just because they're nice to have, but they may not make economic sense. That doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you got to understand it doesn't make economic sense. And I'm not sure at this point, we know enough to answer the question about whether or not it makes economic sense.
Can I
No.
ask a question?
Yes, Jennifer?
Phil, when will we be done with Patrick Henry? Is that 2023?
no.
No.
It depends on when we can start the project. I don't mean to him and
Mhm.
haw, but
Mhm.
that could be, 6 to 8 month project, but
Mhm.
it's when we can start the construction. So if we bid it in the spring, the staff was hesitant to say that it would be completed by the summer. So it's probably going to go into late fall next year.
Okay,
So
because if.
we'll
if
still be
we-
in next year's budget.
If
when-
we still have Patrick Henry open and CART, I think that we should wait until at least Patrick Henry is paid for and over before we build a patio. I think it's a great idea. We have two big projects.
Anyone
And we
else?
want to do the third gate, which is
Mhm.
incredibly important. It's hard to prioritize, I must say.
That's why you're the board.
That's right.
That's why we're paid the big bucks.
Rick, Pete, I would just ask Terry if she would support a friendly amendment to move it to 23 instead of 22.
Sure. Yeah, I think that this is one project that has the potential for improving an amenity and getting it to be profitable.
Is Cliff our parliamentarian?
Right,
Can
how do
she
we go
simply
about doing
amend her
that?
motion or do I need to offer an alternative?
We should vote on your friendly amendment, otherwise.
All right, I move that,
Did you get a second? If we're going to do it that way. you
I'll
need a second.
second.
Okay. Moved and seconded, friendly amendment to move the Fairways project from 2024 to 2023. More discussion? None? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now on the original motion, Cliff, correct? As amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you, Terry, Rick, and Cliff, especially for being the parliamentarian that you
So
are.
I have
Another
another
question,
question.
okay? Phil, please.
So, and this is really just me trying to understand the process of how this works. Because I compared what the planning committee, approved with conditions, deferred and denied, right? And I know they don't have the final word. Those were their recommendations. But some of the things that they recommended be denied are on table 2 as items that are not included. But some of the things that they recommended be denied are in table 1. In other words, kind of sounds like we expect to do them. So I'm trying to understand why some are in table 1 and some are in table 2. What's the,
So the planning committee and the general manager have 2 independent
Okay.
recommendations, and the out years are really for planning purposes. I mean, if you want to go strictly by what they did, then as I said, they don't really recommend years. They take the year of the proposer, so that they don't comment on the year. They just give it a high ranking. And so I guess I don't know how much, if you went back to them and said, now put this in the years it should be, if it would be the same or different than what I've done.
right, well, it's not the year, it's some are in table 1, which means they're included in the NAI for 5 years. And some are in table 2 of items that were requested but not included. So for the 2 that called my attention were the outdoor ceiling fan at the equestrian center and the starter shelter on the 10th tee. Now, I'm not going to say anything about the starter shelter because I don't golf. So I have no idea whether that's a good idea or not. But
Wildly
the
misunderstood project, right?
planning committee certainly didn't think that that was a good idea, but we've got it on the NAI for
Well, if it
2023.
offends you, then
No.
you should amend it.
No, I'm just, that's why I'm pointing it out. The one that I probably don't agree with is the fan at the equestrian center, because it's a pretty expensive project. It's almost as expensive as the exterior patio at Fairways, but it's for an amenity that is probably not used quite as much. And when I've talked to other people, they've said there are probably other ways to, when this amenity is used on those occasional times for shows and things like that, that you can bring in portable fans or other things that could solve that temporary problem at a lot cheaper cost. So that's the one that I kind of wonder why it's in table
Right.
1.
The original covered arena, which is now the Jesse Graves Arena, was supposed to have fans, and it was too far for us to go to get to it. And I think there's some longing to get those fans in. They would mainly be used on the hottest day, just as we wouldn't give lessons on the coldest day. We don't give lessons on the hottest day because even though you're in the shade, it's just there's not any air moving, and the horses just can't take it. And so bringing in temporary fans, yes, you could do it for an event, but it might be hard to predict the time period on. We have to figure out how we would predict it for hot days. Would we be renting for several weeks, et cetera? So I'm not sure how those fans would work, if they'd have to be rigged higher off the ground. So I thought it had merit mainly because of it was an original plan. And the return on an equestrian project is different than a return on a restaurant. So.
I have one more question. And that's, I compared table 1 from this year to table 1 from last year.
Yeah, we appreciate you looking at this closely.
Yes.
And there was one thing that I didn't see that was on last year that is not on this year. And once again, it's a golf thing, which is why maybe it actually is just already happened and I just don't know it. But on last year's 5-year capital plan, there was a stormwater management number 10 fairway design.
That's because it's in the repair and replacement reserve.
Okay, Thank you. And I
And
knew there
it's,
was probably an
yeah.
answer, but I,
And it's a major project that we would start to design in the coming fiscal year in 2022 and build in the 2023 timeframe. To some extent, that's a placeholder for the A&T report, but I would say that's a good one to be the lead project because you're using an asset to take care of stormwater. So that's where it
Thank
is.
you.
It's in the R&R study. So you should be able to find it in the section with that.
Jennifer,
Is that the one that's for $300,000?
Yes.
Okay.
So we estimated that the architectural costs would be about a tenth of that. And then the design costs would be about a tenth, and then the construction would be that. So those are placeholder estimates.
and for our members who might be listening, that project is one that would move the green and put a holding pond of some sort there to collect the water coming down that's flooding areas around there. So it was a pretty involved project, but it was mainly for that purpose. Any other?
actually, I have one more
Go-
question.
sure,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And this is, I think, clarification for me, but my guess is that the membership would also appreciate knowing. We have a Route 3 security fencing on table 1 for new assets and improvement, but we also have Route 3 security fencing in the Miller-Dodson report, starting in 2023. So I assume it's because the one in Miller-Dodson is where we already have fencing and we're going to repair and replace it. And what's here is the places that don't have fencing and new fencing would be put in? Or did I-
It's to be determined. I would say that there's probably likely enough in the R&R to do the whole project. Because if you look at the distance in the linear feet, but that's an estimate for a wooden fence. And we want to make sure it's a metal fence. I would say it's possibly, I could see it playing out either way. We just don't have any more recent estimates to tell us if that 214 in 2023 is going to be enough. But this is a hedge. You could say, I mean, if you want to be go strictly by what we should be doing, and that's just replacing an asset. Yes, that money in the 214 in next year in the 2023 budget would be just for the section where we have fence, and then you'll need something else for the other sections.
So 214 is in 2022.
2023.
No, that's what we pointed out and said needs to be moved to 2022.
No, the other way.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you're the one that
But
caught it, Terry.
I
so-
know, I know. Yeah, too many dates, too
Okay.
many numbers. Okay, but so this is additional fencing or additional monies needed for improving the fencing that's there
If I might
above the 20.
help with this, Rick and I both were on the ad hoc fence committee. And the original estimate for the entire length of the front of Lake of the Woods property from Keaton's Dam down past the firehouse, et cetera, was 232,000 or thereabouts. That was with inflation built in, et cetera. We did not at that time figure in the R&R replacement of the wood fence, just knew that it needed to be replaced. So the amount of money that wood fence is supposedly worth, you wouldn't know it by looking at it now, but is $214,000, but that was scheduled over 5 separate years.
Yeah.
And your motion before was to combine those. So there was a chunk of money in R&R that wasn't accounted for as we estimated the cost to fence the whole thing with powder coated aluminum. So
And-
between those two budgets.
Pete, the only thing I would change is if you look at the linear feet in the Miller-Dodson, it's approximately a mile. I don't have it right in front of me. Tell me the distance, but that's basically the distance we need to go for the whole project. The
Yes.
difference is it's estimating a wooden fence versus a metal fence.
Right.
So let's see, we need to get some more current estimates when we actually get to the point of the project.
And this means that this would, somewhere between that 214 and a number slightly above that, we can do the whole thing.
And do you
Or
want
maybe so, yeah.
pillars? Do you want it to be just straight metal fence? et
Probably
cetera?
straight metal would be my
Yeah.
guess, but
So-
that's what it was estimated on. Nice, just like around
Right.
Sweetbriar. Pool.
Sweetbriar pool fence, yes.
hope that helps.
Can't climb
Yeah.
over it easily. And just to go back to the other item on the 10th Fairway, if you look in the 2022 plan, you'll see project number, reserve number 413 is the 30,000 design. And then you go to 2023, reserve number 412 is the construction at hole 10 for 300,000. That's in the plan we have now
Thank
for
you.
planning budget.
Any other questions of Phil? You got it, Rick?
Yes, Phil, the starter tee box in 2023 for 10,000. Refresh my memory. That came up from staff, right? That was a staff recommendation?
There was a discussion between the pro and ad hoc Wood Center committee about it. And I know there was some concern about from the, like, for example, the ladies group, they didn't think it was necessary for them. And also the expense, I think at the end of the day, we may be able to get it for, if that's indeed something we want to do, we could probably do it for a lot less, get something constructed by our crew, get something ready-made, but
The ad hoc committee weighed in on that as well.
they did.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Phil? Okay. Hearing none. All right.
Thank you for all the time you spent on this. Sometimes we just say, okay, that's the 5-year plan. Let's keep going. So appreciate the questions, and every little bit makes it a stronger plan.
Yeah. And now where are we now?
So we'll make these changes, and then we'll bring it back to you at your December meeting.
Very good.
Get another look at it.
Thank you, Phil. And thank
And
you.
by then
Jennifer.
you'll have the budget in hand. So
Good.
on one hand, you'll have the 5-year plan, the other hand, you'll have the draft budget.
Good deal. All right, we're now at item 6.1. And Phil, we're going to ask you to lead that discussion regarding virtual board, committee, and membership meetings.
I'll try to be brief and let you know where the decision points are. Going back to your retreat in September, there was discussion, and Walt led the discussion point on whether we should have entirely virtual board meetings put into our bylaws so that we don't have to wait for some action by the General Assembly or by the governor to have these completely virtual meetings. Right now, we'd still have to have 2 people present, which we did anyway, and it worked out well. But there's nothing in our bylaws that really allows for completely virtual, entirely virtual board meetings. And this, the change that's proposed by the LOWA attorney would allow you to do it anytime you want to. For committees, there is a procedure for doing that, but it does assume that there's some sort of a pandemic or some sort of an issue that would keep us from gathering. It could be as large as a pandemic. It could be as small as, hey, the power's out in the community center, we can't meet. So so there is a provision that allows committees. And so the third is those items are coupled together, and what the LOWA attorneys has given us is coupled together boards and committees. On the other side is the membership meeting, and it would say that you could have an entirely virtual meeting or a hybrid meeting for a membership meeting, and that the members that are checked in a proper way could participate in a virtual setting as opposed to being present. And you'll recall during the annual membership meeting and during the referendum, you had to be present in order to be counted and to vote, et cetera. You need to be present versus either in a hybrid setting or a totally virtual setting. And so this is what the attorney has given us. Carolyn Broder and I did get a chance to talk to him about some of the different ideas that are represented here. There's a term called managing agent. So think of that as general manager or designee. That's probably what would go there. There's talk about a sign-in sheet. We would probably want to pair that back to just say if we're totally virtual, we'd have a sign-in. I don't think you want to have the same standard for committees as you would for the board when it comes to finding out if a member is really a member. If that person says they're a member and gives a Latin section, that's probably good enough for a committee meeting. It wouldn't be good enough for a membership meeting. You'd have to verify they are on the rolls. But we don't want to put that onto our 25 committees that they have to keep track of this, who is exactly on the phone, what their lot and section are, and if they're a member or not. If the person says they're a member, gives the lot and section, good enough, we can check it later. So I think there's some practical things we'll want to work into this draft. So really, I have two questions. I see two things. First of all, we've got the practicality of putting this into our bylaws. And thank you to Linda Hyros that couldn't be with us today, Linda Brooks, and to Lori Trocchio. They noticed that if we put this in our bylaws, it will double the size of our bylaws because of all the detail. And so our attorney may be thoughtful of that, has proposed it as an administrative resolution. So I think we're going to need to do both. And I believe Cliff pointed that out. We'll need to do a little bit in the bylaws and then have this administrative resolution. That's a little like what we do for collections. We don't have all the detail in the regulations. It's in the resolution. So we're going to have to figure out how to split that. So for example, section 1 might be in the bylaws, and then everything else will say, see the resolution. But I suppose the beauty of the resolution is you could act on this in the near term and then go through the bylaws amendment as you go along and get it put into place. Our attorneys have basically said you can act on this as a resolution. I think the other question then is, do you want to do this for both board and committee meetings and for the membership meeting, so that you may have a different decision based on how you feel about each one of those. But the way that he's put this, our attorneys put this together, it makes it hard to really divide up when it comes to board and committees that he's put them together. So we'll figure it out. We got to figure out how to put the puzzle pieces into the bylaws and not double size. But let us know what you want to do, and then we'll work to get it set up.
Cliff, discussion.
Phil, if we have committees on virtual meetings, who is going to manage the platform? Right now, we try to keep our employees, 9 to 5, basically 8 to 5. So if we have committees meeting at night, are they going to be able to meet virtually, and are we going to have someone on the staff manage the platform? That's my first question.
Well, I think that's a great question. And again, we try to steer most of the meetings during the daytime when our staff's available. So it gets to staff availability, but you are going to have somebody manage it. So it's whether we have staff available or we can train a committee person to handle it. And no matter what, it should be on a LOWA platform. So I think we can do it either way, but it needs to be determined. And this would definitely mean that we're being more formal about the whole thing, doesn't it? So we'll have to get committee people ready. It may mean that they have to have their own laptop to do it, et cetera. So always better if it's during the day.
Any other questions? Cliff?
Yeah. So the attorney said we can act on this now. And I presume if we act on it now, we can implement the parts that we can without changing anything. Or do we need to change or put into the bylaws, at least generally, what we're going to do, and then approve the resolution? I can just see somebody arguing, on the one hand, yeah, you passed this resolution, but it's not in the bylaws. So now what do you do? And the bylaws are supposed to be the base documents, I understand it. So other than, covenants and all that, but so enlighten me on that.
I think it can work either way. I think if there's no urgency, it depends on the urgency. How often do you think you're going to need to meet in a totally virtual setting between now and 2 months from now? Say, if we can do it together, then you would propose the bylaws changes and have the administrative reg ride along with it until it's all completed, and then pass them both at the same meeting. Ideally, but if you think that this is something that you need to act on sooner rather than later, you've got the administrative regulation, and you can let the bylaws catch up. So my preference would be do the bylaws change first, but I may want to speak to this a little more directly and see if it's, and that's more on the board meeting side. Remember, the committees, as long as if there's an issue, they can meet in a totally virtual setting now because of our bylaws. And then membership is a separate question.
Any other director questions? Walt?
Yeah, the point here is that there was a statute that allowed for totally virtual board meetings during the height of the pandemic. Well, that statute's expired. And so, our authority to do that has gone away unless the legislature in its wisdom has said you can continue it, but you got to have a resolution that lays out how you're going to do it and all that kind of stuff. And so, I don't think there's a lot of, there's not a huge amount of urgency here. I shouldn't have said that because it means something terrible is going to happen tomorrow. But I think we need to recognize that if there were something that were to occur and we wanted to have a totally virtual meeting, our authority to do that has expired unless we pass a resolution laying out how we're going to do it. So it's basically cleaning it up to give us the ability to do it. Do I think that we can't wait 60 days? Once again, I shouldn't say that because I'm spooking the whole thing, but I think we can wait 60 days and do it in a deliberative way. But I think we ought to do it because, 2 years ago, if somebody had raised the notion that we need to be able to do virtual meetings because something was going to happen, they would have been hooted out of the room. So I think it may be another 100 years before we need to do this, but I think we need to do something. I don't think we need to do it tomorrow.
Thank you, Walt. I'd also like us to look at this in a couple of ways. Of course, the fact that we set up so that we can do it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do it. The second part of my question that I mentioned to Phil with this, I can see this working for a board meeting, although we've done hybrids with 2 of us in the room quite successfully. But if we went all virtual with the board and the committee meetings, it's workable. There is a great deal more work involved in trying to orchestrate and administer a membership meeting of potentially 4,200 people and checking them in properly, et cetera. So that would be a call we'd have to make. But if we had the ability to do it, we could. Would we want to? What are our options for a workaround? Let's say on a Labor Day when we have our annual meeting of the membership, there's 2 sides. People, it's a sunny day, they want to stay out and play in the water. Or if we did it virtual, would they be still distracted? Could we set up and easily manage a 4,200 member meeting? That's a question. But
Yeah, Mr. President, that's something we have discussed on staff and based on past attendance. As you said, it could be, we could get overwhelmed. We would need to send out registration early. We'd want to try to get as many people registered ahead of time, but we would also need to be able to check them in during the meeting and get everybody, and you would never cut it off. You just keep checking people in as they come on, as long as they have their credentials are checked in. One elegant part of the resolution that the attorneys put forward is it gives the board a chance ahead of and you'd have to do it before the notice of the meeting. And of course, we send that out like 45 days ahead of time. You'd have to do it ahead, but you could decide at a board meeting what the format is going to be and then put that into the notice of the meeting. Okay. So it's not a one-time decision if you pass this. There's a decision point before you send out the notice. What kind of meeting is it going to be? It's going to be virtual or hybrid.
okay. And the difference this resolution would make would be participation versus just
Participation
watching.
versus observing. Yes.
Any other thoughts or questions for Phil?
Yeah. Just a suggestion that to say I'm skeptical about doing a membership meeting virtually is to be polite about it. I would suggest we first handle the parts having to do with the board meetings and the committee meetings. Get that resolved. And it'll give us more time to think about the other one, and also we'll have a little more experience because we'll have sort of slogged our way through the other ones. And it might give us a better sense of whether we're at this point willing to proceed with the second step with the membership meeting. I like the slow roll,
think that's
the
kind of-
membership part of that.
That's a pretty good idea. And I also wonder if it would allow us to look at the bylaws for board and committee meetings at the same time and then handle membership.
That seems to be the consensus of the group, that if there's no urgency on this, it needn't be done tomorrow, that we look at the bylaws and the resolution at the same time. So Phil, that, hopefully that's helpful, Phil, and we'll look at this further down the road. All right, we're ready to move on. Okay, we're at item 6.2, Jennifer. I'm
Pete,
sorry.
just to come back to that point.
Yes.
So do we want to try, you want us to work on the bylaws amendment and bring that back to you for an action point
Yes.
for both
That's the
items?
consensus of the board.
Or
I think
just for the one?
focusing on board and committee.
Correct.
first.
Right.
So this consensus of the group here is bring back board and committees and we'll continue to think about what to do about the membership meetings. So we'll try to set that up for the December meeting. If not, that'll be the January meeting. And in the meantime, if we do need to go into a more confined setting, we have been able to do the two-person meeting in the MPH
Right.
where we can spread out pretty well.
Yes.
So I think we're okay with that.
Okay.
So we'll work on the bylaws amendment and bring it to you either in December or January.
Very good. All right. And now Jennifer.
I move the board send to the Rules Committee and the LOWA attorney proposed amendments to Regulation 4F, individual behavior regarding smoking.
It has been moved and seconded to send to the Rules Committee and the Low Attorney proposed amendments to Regulation 4.F, individual behavior regarding smoking. Discussion. Bill?
If I could just give a little word to start with, this is a result of your retreat where you looked at the different options and you said you definitely wanted to regulate tobacco smoking at the beaches. We also had quite a discussion about large events and didn't really come to a conclusion on that. So I took a shot at it to say that we would regulate events primarily, let me get the wording right.
Children.
Primarily intended for children. And so I've generally described treats on the point, although I haven't called it that, and generally describe the front entrance pond fishing tournament as two in particular. That may or may not be where you want to go with that, but I wanted to take a shot at where I thought we were basically going with that. So it'd be events, it would be LOWA, whether it's sponsored by LOWA, an organization or an individual. If it's something aimed primarily at children, it would be non-smoking.
Any other discussion by board members? Questions for Phil on this?
It also includes naming the clubhouse deck, and which is right now is smoke-free. However, the Wood Center patio is a covered area that is currently an area where you can smoke. So you may want to put this out with it in it and then take it back later. Or you may decide you don't want that to move forward at this time. But I pointed out in the memo that it does include the clubhouse deck and Wood Center patio that aren't named currently. And the
Clubhouse deck.
it's more of a practical issue since we have the Trek style. It's not Trex, but it's that style patio deck. Brian Richardson has pointed out, you don't want to drop something on that, you mar it. But the patio is at Wood Center. You can currently smoke there. You can take 3 steps and be off the patio, but you may not want to go that far at this point.
I think that we should, sorry.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I think that we should prohibit smoking at the Wood Center patio.
I agree.
They can go into the Wood Center parking lot to smoke.
Same.
People are eating on that patio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
think they should
correct.
be subjected to smoke. So,
And I'm really glad that we're prohibiting smoking where the children congregate. I think that's super important.
Pete,
yes, sir. Cliff?
I support leaving that part in about the patio. As you say, as it goes through the process, we can always change our mind about that or any other aspect, but I think let the Rules Committee have it, look at it, and we'll get it back and take it from there. But I don't have any problem prohibiting smoking on that patio area
Very good.
personally.
Hey, we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. We are now at item 6.3. Rick,
I move the board send to the Lakes Committee, Safety and Security Committee, and the Maintenance and Ecology Committee proposed amendments to Regulation 10, use of lakes regarding non-conventional watercraft with a return date of January 7th, 2022, in time for the mid-month January board meeting.
moved and seconded to send to the Lakes Committee, Safety and Security Committee, and Maintenance and Ecology Committee proposed amendments to Regulation 10, use of lakes regarding non-conventional watercraft with a return date of January 7th, 2022, in time for the mid-month January board meeting. Rick, would you like to start conversation on this?
Certainly, thank you. This is an issue that's been discussed for at least several months now. And the basic premise is that the way our lake regulations are currently written, all watercraft, any watercraft is permitted on the lake except those that are specifically prohibited. The problem with that approach is technology evolves very quickly. People come up with new ideas for fun and amusing and sometimes dangerous things to do on the water with using new technology, new energy, battery powered stuff. And so what happens is a member may decide that looks like fun and invest in something, sometimes to the tune of thousands of dollars, and then start using it on the lake. And oftentimes that creates conflicts in use or potential risks to other lake users. But by then the member has it, and now we're trying to prohibit something after the fact. And of course, if you're the member that made that investment, you're a little upset that you bought it thinking it was permitted, and now all of a sudden it's not permitted on the lake where you have made an investment in a home. So the thought here was to turn that around and say all for lack of a better word, unusual watercraft, I guess, non-traditional watercraft are prohibited on the lake except those which are expressly permitted. And then we could list the things which I think by common agreement and in current practice is permitted, such as pontoon boats, speedboats, currently wake boats, sailboats, individually powered watercraft, et cetera, jet skis. But as new technology evolves, if someone says, I'd like to buy the newest personal submarine, or I'd like to buy some kind of a hovercraft or something, it would be incumbent on that person to come to the board and say, I'd like an amendment to the regulation that would permit this kind of watercraft to be used on the lake. And so this draft regulation essentially does that. It turns it from specific prohibitions to, from specific permissions to specific prohibitions, so that we're not constantly playing catch up to the detriment of members who are a little more on the adventuresome side or just want to be on the cutting edge of new technologies.
And if I might throw in something, I saw a video on a Popular Mechanics website, a device called Sea Breacher, and I had a panic attack and started this conversation. This is a watercraft that can go 55 miles per hour on top of the water and 25 miles an hour 6 feet under the water. And I just imagined one of those things coming up under your pontoon boat and, or cutting in between you and your skier. So that started this discussion. And so we want to get in front of this, as Rick has pointed out. Walt, yes?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions here. I mean, as far as actually reading the red line. If you look on page 5, two
Right.
questions. There's under 4A, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 is deck boat / ski boat, C section 4A, 4B. Should that be A1B?
Let's see, A4B. Should take you to the section right below it. Is there one in there too?
Yeah,
So-
I'm just wondering, because you're talking about, 4. It's just, I'm not sure what we're referencing or whether we're
It's not-
referencing the right place.
Well, it's supposed to reference the section right below it. I suppose you can make an argument, we'd want to reference the definitions. Is that what you mean? in
I don't know,
A1?
because we have some of the other places we are referencing definitions.
Well, personal watercraft should, because it doesn't really have its own treatment.
Yeah, okay.
This watercraft restriction section talks about motorized watercraft, sailboats. It talks about deck boats and et cetera in these sections right below it. So as I said, I suppose you can make an argument that it would want to reference the definitions, but that's not always going to be,
Okay,
have something to go along with
okay,
it.
that's my first question. My other one is, I think we're missing something under the 5th item.
Yes, we need
I
to
think-
reference a personal watercraft definition at that.
Yeah, I think
point.
that's A1C.
A1C.
Okay.
Thank you, Walt.
Also, I would say that this is a sort of a belts and suspenders, or it's two sides of the same coin, where on one hand, you're saying only watercraft that recreational water equipment normally found on freshwater lakes are allowed, and they have to meet applicable U.S. Coast Guard and Commonwealth of Virginia regulations. And then we get more specific about the kinds that are here. But then also back in the B section, we name, because that's a continuation of something we already had, where we name non-conventional watercraft that are prohibited. So you might think that's redundant, but it's a good way to knock something down as you become aware of it. I did want to mention that we do try to do one other item since we've got regulation 10 open, and that's we wanted to clarify the wake surfing section to make sure that we understand that it's for wake surfing and not for wakeboarding. I believe that was an issue raised by the committee, and that's on page 10, page 19. And then right below that, we already had a section in that same section of water skiing, wake surfing, wakeboarding that talks about jetpacks. I don't know if you all were around when we talked about the jetpacks, and that would be okay for exhibition and demonstration. So we did say other watercraft devices or recreational water equipment are prohibited except for prior express permission of the GM for adequate liability insurance of no less than $1 million. So I suppose we could have a demonstration of something at some point, but it would have to have express permission. So if you don't want to go forward with that, you want to strike that out and just allow jetpacks, that would be okay. But I guess the forward thinking was in the future, there might be something we might be interested in seeing what it's like. And it would be a way of permitting it as long as they have adequate insurance.
So one more question. What's flyboarding?
Oh, boy.
It's a new one on me.
Flyboarding is like a parasailing. It's a pool that has I believe that's what it is. You're on a surfboard that lifts. You also have electric
Yeah.
foils now, but I think that's what it
I
is.
believe you're right. And the committee, going back to Lakes Committee, didn't want anyone to leave the ground
Right.
for more than a
So you're
couple of
being
seconds.
pulled with parachute and your surfboard skis
Well,
or skis and it.
I guess my question is, the way it's written here, we're not allowing jetpack vessel activity except for flyboarding. So a quick read, it suggests that flyboarding is not prohibited. And I'm just sort of surprised. I have no idea what it is.
It's a form of jetpack. I don't recall exactly what it is. It's a way to do it.
We don't know what it is, but by golly, we
we-
don't want it.
We did have a demonstration of
Yeah,
the
the
jetpack
jetpack.
on the
So-
lake. It was quite interesting. It was during a ski
And I
show.
asked Phil about the sea breacher, like the jetpack. We come out here and demonstrate this thing and whet everybody's appetite and say you can't buy that. So
Well, except the way this thing is written, it says no
It says, yeah.
jetpack vessel
Right.
It
activity.
allows flyboarding.
But it allows flyboarding with his permission.
where is, and what is the article?
Well,
number?
it's the, it's written in an odd way. It says no jetpack vessel activity shall be allowed at LOW, except for flyboarding, which is restricted to the main lake within a
That's
200-foot
ski jump.
safety zone near the ski jump or the clubhouse dock, blah, 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 blah.
Does that refer to ski jump? Is it? maybe?
It's a form of jetpack. I've just looked it up. It shows where the jets are actually coming out of the
the board.
underneath,
Oh,
out of the
good
feet.
Standing on the.
They're standing on the
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
jet. So that was what was demonstrated the one day
Okay.
that it was out
so we
here.
do want to strike that.
So that,
Yeah, let's change it.
are you saying you want to prohibit it altogether?
Yes.
Why don't you just say that all watercraft that weren't allowed shouldn't be allowed without prior express permission by you for doing these kinds of things?
So what you're suggesting is we basically delete 1 and make 2, 1 to say all watercraft devices, et cetera, have to get permission.
Couldn't somebody argue that a jetpack isn't a watercraft?
And only for them.
It's
to-
airborne?
It's a device. It's a,
know?
It is a jet ski in the water with a long hose to the thing that goes out of the water, a 100-foot hose and goes around, but the jet ski must be running to power it.
I think
It's
you're
just
seeing why
low.
we
It's
want to
fire
get
hose.
some more committee input on this.
Yeah,
let's send this thing
And,
out.
I think it's a
But
great
it is a
idea.
device. It's not a watercraft. It's a recreational device.
Okay.
I guess you'd say.
Yes, Jennifer.
I have a question. I have a thought. What if we prohibited airborne craft, airborne, whatever it is, on the lake?
We also-
Those
That
aren't
could-
really airborne.
Well, they're up in the
They're in
air.
the air, but they're being propelled by
Water.
jet stream of water, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wish there was a way we could just prohibit the ones that are above the water.
Well, other than somebody really getting a lot of air from skiing, right? So,
You also want to prohibit certain things that go under the water, like anything that's kind of like a little submarine.
Which we do.
Well,
right? So I don't think it's
yes,
just above.
I'm sorry. Rick, I'm sorry. And then Cliff, I'll get you.
I agree with the idea of striking number 1 and just including all of it under number 2. But also on page 11, going back to page 11, which is where we talk about the sea breachers. Section J1, it says that can travel underwater and launch into the air. That should be and/or.
well, I think they need to that particular item needs to be underwater to get the ability to launch into the air.
Right, but we say sea breacher and similar watercraft, and you don't want to inadvertently permit a watercraft because it can't do both. The way it's written now, it has to do both to be prohibited. It has to be
Gotcha.
able to travel underwater and launch in the air.
Cliff, you had a question.
I just took a quick look at Google. Not, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's right. No one has to tell me that. Right? But there's also these boards that have foils underneath
Yes.
of them. And you get towed behind a boat or whatever, and you're not really, you're up out of the water on this board, and there's a little foil that's down in the water. I presume that was something we wouldn't want on the lakes, or is
Those
that
are
already
here
happening?
now. However, the electric foil where there is no boat is a battery powered thing. You just stand on it and you hold a remote in your hand and the motor underneath powers it up and you're up on a foil and there's no anything. It's just you're standing up above the water without being towed. We've had the foils are here. now.
Yes, you might recall a member with a boat called Flipper, and
Yeah.
he would come
Do the
back
backflip.
past the clubhouse during dinner time and do his flips overhead.
I think it's a good idea to get committee input on these things.
Yes.
And, you know, Chief is probably our best, Chief Walker is probably our best waterman on the staff right now. And so we probably need, we probably need to have him watch this video. And I see Lieutenant Hensley is here, and she was one of our Lake Patrol officers at one point. So she'll relay this conversation. The chief and I will talk about it, about defining some of these things. I think we've had some good input. Jennifer mentioned the airborne devices, and Terry mentioned the underwater devices, and we talked about the sea breacher and/or aspect. I guess the only point I would need at this point, and we're sending a draft, do we want to eliminate section 1, or do you want to keep it as is for now? And this is on page 19, under non-conventional watercraft devices and recreational water equipment.
We've already had that in there for a while.
And we've needed it exactly 0 times since that one demonstration.
I think if you have the number 2, just that, and say that, and to do any of that requires your express permission that they have insurance.
Speak into your
And that it's only for demonstration and exhibition purposes. It addresses all of those things.
You could write jetpack vessel in that same number 2.
If you feel the need.
You want us to combine 1 and 2,
Yeah, I put them in.
jetpack or any other?
Okay, are we
I'm going
ready?
to take that as consensus
Yes.
here at the end of
I
this
think so.
meeting. Okay. We'll send this on to the committees. And I think that would give to mid-January, gives them plenty of time here during the holiday time to meet and get this done. I think you should sleep well tonight, knowing that you have to be Coast Guard approved or approved by the Commonwealth of Virginia to be on the lakes. And since the association owns the lake, it can make a rule about what can and can't be there. So you're right, Rick, we may have to respond as reactively as opposed to proactively, but I think we'll be okay if we get this going here in the next few weeks.
Okay, so we need to take a vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 6.4 on the agenda has been removed. It will be brought back for discussion by the board in December. Now we're at director comments. Any director comments? Cliff?
I was remiss in not saying this earlier, but the ECC has updated their charter, and it's been sent to the president and vice president to be put on the agenda for at least a review at the December meeting. It's pretty extensive. Their charter was not in the standard format, and there was some updating that needed to be done, but they did a good job with it as usual, and I'll be anxious for y'all to look at it and offer opinions about it.
Very good. Who else? Walt? had one? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention something because it's not on your list of meetings, and those that you had a reference to the budget coming out, this draft budget coming out on Friday. There will be budget hearings on November 30th and on December 1 and December 2 at the community center. And they'll be listed in Lake Currents and also on the website. If anybody wants to see how the sausage is actually made, this is your opportunity. And and also, a lot of important decisions are going to be made at those hearings, at least at a tentative level. So just be aware that those are going to go on, and you all come.
Terry?
I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a committee fair this Saturday, November 20th, from 1 to 4 o'clock. So if anybody is curious about what all our different committees do, and if they want to see which one they want to join, that this is the time to come.
And that is here in the,
Yeah, it's
Clubhouse.
right here
okay.
in this room.
Thank you, Terry. Any other director comments? Okay, hearing none, the next meeting will be here tomorrow night, a special Board of Directors meeting with Orange County Board of Supervisors. This is something we do annually. That'll be here tomorrow night, open session at 6 p.m. Regular Board of Directors meeting Wednesday, December 15th at the Community Center, 1 o'clock executive session, 2 o'clock open session. That will be our only December meeting. And then the regular Board of Directors meeting Wednesday, January 5th at the Community Center, 1 o'clock executive session and 2 PM open session. That one is also our only meeting in January. So we give ourselves one day off each month. Jennifer?
Can I be Carl?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Hopefully not. We are adjourned.